Greetings, fellow hobbyists. I'm pretty sure the audio situation should be perfectly serviceable. You guys let me know if things are a bit off. Let me switch OBS out of the studio mode so I can get a better picture of what's going on. How's it going, Sindri? You guys are upset I'm a touch late, just barely. Some may even say fashionably late. Francois is off to get a pizza. That sounds pretty good. Kit Bash Carnage, how's it going? Hello, bro. Just about to head to bed. Seen you on and said it to the usual. Much appreciated. Thank you for the kind like. Liking the stream helps the algorithm. Look, the warp/algorithm is a mysterious beast. And sometimes we have to try our best to make it go our way. I'm not working on anything too fancy. We're just plucking away at the command squad still. I'm going to try and get this heavy bolter guy a bit up to snuff. I think the first of the Victrix is from last stream is shaping up pretty well. So I'll try and get this guy to a similar level as his battle bro. How's it going, Bruno? Thanks for tuning in. Let us all unify and share in the hobby camaraderie. What's everyone in chat working on? That's the true question. This process of making this guy cool, I guess maybe should begin with filling in the colors that are outstanding. We can probably do the cables for sure, and maybe like a cool stripe. Like I'm thinking a diagonal, kind of yellow maybe. Or maybe it should go this way across both panels. That could be pretty cool. Or just vertical. Vertical could look cool too. Just a band to break it up, I think, might make it look a bit more interesting. I was considering putting hazard striping on this cable, but maybe it's better to keep the areas of focus on the front side. Or towards the gun anyways, the gun barrel, you know, not the back end of a cable. Bruno says, Bruno Markov is doing good, cleaning the house. Well, I am honored that you're choosing this stream to keep you company. Okay, let's get some red. Normally I use corn red, but I don't have any use for this Word Bearers red, so I might as well use it. It should be a serviceable base color. We mix it with some black, we'll get a dark red. It should be perfectly adequate. Pyro, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Most likely, I'll be doing streams every evening this week. I had to think, and as far as the weekly video goes, it's don't really have any strong pushes for inspiration, so maybe this will just be a week of streaming. We'll see how that goes. I don't really want to phone in a thematic list build just for the sake of it. I'd rather get some hobbying done, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, this Word Bearers red is very brown. It's very scabby. I'm gonna have to mix in a little bit of pure red from Army Painter just to bump that saturation up. Which would have been the same second process as the corn red base, so feels like it's a suitable alternative. Gotta find uses for these paint pots before they dry up. Simon Kelly, hello. Oh, but you're off to bed now. Well, thanks for tuning in. You have a good night, Simon. What is this? What is this? Seems like we have a bit of spam in the old chat. It's a stream first, or maybe even a channel first. Interesting. I guess that's a marker of stream growth. Look at that. Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah, we need to do some moderation. We need to do some moderation. Don't worry. I have the power for this. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. How do I do this? Remove? Is that how that works? Oh, no, that's not gonna work. This is not gonna work. Hide user on this channel. Put user in timeout. Forever. We're gonna learn how to do this together, guys, okay? Add as moderator? Definitely not. I guess hide user on this channel. Or maybe report. Is that what you do? No, probably not these options. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we just do that. Okay, look, I think we did it. Oh, maybe not. Hide user. Okay, well, look, we'll see. We'll see how this works. What a great... I find that rather funny. Hide user, the second one? Okay, well. Oh, God, I just signed up a good site. Jesus. Oh, that's so funny. It's rich. It's rich. Okay, look. We'll take it one step at a time. We'll figure it out together, okay? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's not getting the best coverage out of this blend. It'll take a few coats, I think. Then it should be okay. I also don't want that cable to be too attention grabbing, right? We want to keep it kind of mild. Maybe on the side towards the front of the model, we can go with it a little bit brighter, but that's about it. Scratch Build Production says, I put the rust on the Knight Skeleton. Looks rusty cool. Very nice. Pyro says, so far the end has to be the most enjoyable compared to the pain, the fear, and the fury. Yeah, the end is in terms of Metal Gear Solid 3, the end is a pretty unique boss fight. So cool. Definitely a change of pace. Silver Scratch Build says, question for what the 40k in chat. What is your favorite edition of 40k? Mine is Rogue Trader. That's an interesting question. I've had problems. So for the majority of the editions I've played have been from 8th onwards. Before 8th edition, I was basically just painting and collecting, watching battle reports, that sort of thing. Basically just just painting Tyranids mostly. Just in it for the hobby, having fun with model building, putting stuff together in fun ways, that sort of thing. But between the editions, I've played actively or been in a community actively. I've kind of had issues with all of them. I don't even want to say I liked 8th the most, because it certainly had issues that would just infuriate me completely, right? Like 8th edition is, I feel like, yeah, sure, 8th edition brought all the options for flavorful things like chapter masters, right? Like they're lacking now. But at the same time, 8th edition was also the edition where Chaos Space Marines just had one wound for the entire time. Which is off-putting, to say the least. So I don't feel like I should say it's my favorite. I'm gonna say, I don't know, I'm fairly confident I would have enjoyed an older edition more than any of the ones I've played so far. The ones that were a bit more narratively oriented, the ones that allowed for very thematic options and had rules which encouraged creativity. I think that's a very safe bet. I think this game or hobby's strength is in its application of creativity. I think it's stupid to get rid of it. But it seems like that's what GW wants to do. Like, I suspect the new Kill Team, even though I'm kind of intrigued to try out a faster paced, smaller scale, more boots on the ground game system for 40k, I suspect that we'll only be able to play with the Kill Team boxed units. I hope that's not the case. Okay, I'm going to do some Inktense Black for the soft seals before we continue on. Ugandan Knuckles. Shout out for the epic username. That's amazing. Have you played the new 40k game? If you're asking about Space Marine 2, Ugandan Knuckles, indeed I have. I haven't played since about last week when I made my little customization video, but I definitely have played it, and I'm not looking to finish it. Like, I'm not racing to finish it, you know. I don't mind having it available that I can go back to. It'd be nice to just not finish the game, consume all the content, so to speak, so that all that's left is the seasonal updates. I'd like to keep some enjoyment for later. Also, I want to change my eye colors, so I want to wait for that update. Oh, maybe I should have painted that cable first. I feel like I'm mucking up my red. It's not too bad. And we'll get some Inktense Black on the soft seals of the elbow. And on the wrist, probably. Well, that should do it, I think. Sindri Tepik asks Salamander's chapter. Yes, a Salamander successor chapter. That is what these guys. That's where these guys are hailing from, or that's where they belong. I call them the Firekeepers. Sort of Monster Hunter inspired. Well, yeah, I guess there's a Monster Hunter homage in the theme of the chapter, is the way I guess I would describe that. Silver Scratchbook Production says you would have enjoyed Rogue Trader. You had more free will to design vehicles and Dreadnought and robots. I played Imperial Guard and had T-101 Terminators hidden in each squad I had. Nice. Yeah, I think 9th edition probably had the right, for my preferences, probably had the right balance of, you know, you still had your chapter master. You still had the means to equip your guys with whatever, you know, the war gear list in your codex, right? You had a lot of freedom for the most part, I think. Or did this start going away? Hard to say, right? Like your sergeant's war gear list, like that kind of design sensibility. I really appreciate that. You know, your sergeant can have his pick of the litter from the armory. It feels right. You know, I was going to put skulls on the opposite shoulder pad to denote like a command squad, but I wonder if I should just do a freehand of that Monster Hunter symbol. But the one I painted on the banner... Oh, crap. I don't have the banner with me. Never mind. Disregard the example. Might be a cooler symbol to denote command squad than the standard codex markings. But I use the standard codex markings everywhere else, so something to think about, I suppose. You know, one of my favorite things to do for the Space Marines is like paint, assign, and realize the force organization. I think it's super cool. It's definitely nerdy shit, but that's what I feel like that's what I'm here for. Okay, our yellow is still alive from yesterday. This might be Flashkits, which probably isn't what you want. I think this direction would be cooler. Probably about that amount of thickness, and then we'll just try and make it equal on the other side. Probably should have layered down a brown first. Now we have to work much harder. Avril, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. I just saw your message. What's good? You know, everything is good. Working on the command squad, and they're coming together. I think they're starting to look pretty sharp, bit by bit. I think the... Certainly tabletop standard, right? Basing aside, of course. Of course. But we leave basing for the end. Okay, so for these ones, for these guys, I need to look up a reference for... Let's try mixing in some Steel Legion drab. I guess this guy is from the second company, we'll say. We'll go with that, right? That's yellow's the color of the second company, so maybe this is just his little, his swag, right? While he's in the command squad, he wants to rep his original company he grew up in. Looks good so far, Avril. Thank you. Brother of Titans, Bolters Brothers. Indeed, we're doing some bolters, some heavy bolters. Maybe a bolt rifle. We'll see. We'll see. Definitely want to get this guy up to snuff. You know, he's in the thumbnail, so it feels imperative. Of course, the eyes are probably a big part in making the wow factor happen. So we gotta hit those. A little bit of overspill is okay. Can live with it. So here's a question for chat. What is everybody's general sensibilities around eye augmetics, right? You have your standard coloration that you choose for your helmets, in my case, yellow. Do you guys paint your augmetics a different color, or do you keep it the same as the chapter color of standard eye lenses? Ben, just saw your message. How's it going? Yo, same on Force Organization. I should just mark under the base what each model is, but I was wondering if there are better / cooler ways. Nameplates somehow? Even thought about making an Excel sheet. Oh, I have for myself. It's not for names of models, but I definitely went the extra nerdy mile to map out my models for Sorg with a spreadsheet. I just think it's cool. And that way, you know, I have some plan to refer to so I don't end up having multiple Squad 4s, for example. It's like, oh yeah, the Eradicators, they're Squad 9. Like, I know, there's no question. Right? And that's in part referring to that conversation I had earlier in the week with my buddy Army, why I don't want more Eradicators, even though they're competitive. I have the 4 in my collection. Look, Squad 10, or Squad 9 rather, is full. There's no room for more. Okay, let's clean up this corner a little bit. think once the edge highlighting goes on, we'll cover up that yellow overspill on the corners. It should be fine. The knee pad's a bit trickier. It's hard to make these straight lines read on the round surface. I kind of want to do something with the design also, although I'm not sure what that should be. I probably should have looked up some reference first. Okay, let me check my other tabs here. Let's see. So we can do a Monster Hunter-ish style pattern. That's an option. It's probably the ideal option. Though it tends to look a little Space Wolves-y, which might just be the nature of it. I'm not... I don't love the Space Wolves. I know they... they are somewhat infamous, depending on the circles you're in, but... I don't mind. So I think the required step, no matter what, will be to darken just a slight outline on this knee pad, so that well, I don't know actually. It's a little tricky. Yellow over white isn't, look, maybe that isn't the greatest idea. It will require some outlines, which makes any sort of pattern or shaping a little bit more cumbersome to do. Okay, we'll outline it with a dark brown or a near black or something, and maybe do a zigzaggy sort of Monster Hunter-esque pattern. Maybe that's the way to go. Ben says, hell yeah, we'll try mapping out and more colors, more cool in my opinion, but depends on the style of the menu. Totally agree. I'm a fan of bright colors. But I can appreciate the grim dark aesthetic, as they say. He's probably not the best brush to use for this. Look, I think what we got is adequate anyways. Let's do a bit of cleanup. Let's catch up with chat. Silver Scratchbuild says, or no, Brother of Titan says, for my guard, the visors are red, but helmet augmetics are green. Helps them stand out and ties with my box art. Acuons. Very interesting. Yeah, so maybe I will go for the different color for this guy's augmetic, or his sensors or scopes, whatever they are. What do we think? Blue? Maybe red? rather than introducing another color, right? We already got some red on the cable and on maybe a purity seal. So let's use red. Oh yeah, Alfarius and Francois have a little competition going. What is it? A Lamenter and a Raptor, right? Something like that. Okay, so I think we have to straighten up this bottom stripe a little bit. It's tapering slightly. There, I think that looks better. As for the striping, let's see, or the patterning rather. Let's see what we do. Yeah, it's not the best for stream for showing you guys what's going on here. It's a bit dark. Painting in the dark. I don't know if I love it. In fact, I don't even know if I like it. I also think it's off-center, which might be a contributor. I hate it. What a roller coaster of emotions. If he wins, this is Alfarius answering my question. If Francois wins, you have to make 2,000 points of Lamenters. If I win, he's got to make 2k points of Raptors. These are pretty heavy stakes. You guys aren't messing around. Okay, we're gonna have to do something about this terrible, terrible gray knee pad. We're gonna have to paint over the whole thing. Well, maybe half. Because it is fairly off-center, unfortunately. I don't love the design anyways, so I was gonna probably end up redoing it. Or having to paint over it. I think it might be better to go with a solid, maybe a solid half yellow, half white maybe with a diagonal cut, or maybe vertical is better. Just like in line with his leg. It's probably easier to do as well. So I do feel better about that. Okay, so I'm gonna get some off-white and dark sea gray on the palette here. And we'll blend our way back to a pure knee pad. Yeah, that should be enough coverage for the white side. And for the yellow side, probably can use some of this Steel Legion drab. No, I already feel like this is a better choice. For red, I'll probably go with more of a pink, to be honest with you. For the red islands, I mean. Just put down some pink horror to start, and I'll mix in some off-white to layer it up a bit. And then everything will be hit, all the eyes will be hit with their relevant contrast. It's basically the Glowing Islands' workflow from my video. So it's nothing too fancy. But pretty good yield for the effort, I think. Tai, welcome to the stream. Cool helmets. I'm newer to 40k. Where are those from? Yeah, these helmets are not official. They are from Red Warden. You can find his STLs on 3D Cults. I'm pretty sure is where I purchased them. And I think they, they look pretty good. Here's an unpainted one. You can see it's actually not coming across very well on camera. It's all washed out. Maybe you can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, they're resin heads, 3D printed on the G-Dubs plastic. Exactly, you guys are right. The helmets are custom. Let's do another coat with the Scale 75 Inktense Black. We're really trying to go for that rubber hose look, you know? You know, before it dries up completely, let's do the other guys. Let's do the other members as well. You're welcome, Ty. Happy to share the hobby sources when I can remember them. You know, sometimes I'll get asked about stuff that's just too old, and I can't recall what kits they're from. Like I'd have to go back and look at them, right? Like get a comment on the Tyrannofex video asking about particular details, and I'm like, hold on. I couldn't tell you offhand. I'll have to go back and watch my own video. Well, let's put some Seraphim Sepia on these lock boxes. On the old family jewels canister or container. Helps give that gold a kind of ancient sort of look. Not ancient, just aged. How are the Victrix guys looking? They're all right. I don't think they need any more of the Inktense Black, that is. It indeed seems to be the case. Look, you always waste a little bit of paint, right? Okay, so our knee pad's definitely ready for another pass. So let's begin building that up. Just mixing in a bit more off-white, but it's a bit too neutral. I used to use Celestra Gray for my white base color, which is a very nice color from GW, but I've since switched over to Vallejo's, or I guess, what range? Their model color, Dark Sea Gray. But I find it's much more neutral than Celestra Gray, which had a nice cool undertone. So I have to add in blue manually, which is doable, but it is less convenient. Okay, I think this is a better color. What I'd like to do is just add a notch, maybe, so that you get kind of a design, you know? Just like a hint of a design. Tighten that up this way, and then it'll go in on the yellow side over here, and that'll be it. Just two kind of zigzags in the middle, and we'll keep it like that. And hopefully, with a bit of cleanup, it doesn't look like shit. Look, sometimes you gotta try it out. Look, worst case scenario, we'll just paint over, right? Don't know if I caught the mute there. You know, sometimes you guys ever forget how to breathe and then you end up coughing all of a sudden? That's what you may have heard. Okay, so this knee pad is... I guess the shape is working. Maybe we can cheat and just draw a little bit with some black paint. Or, I'll try and make it dark brown. Well, I think this is coming together, thankfully. Look, only 2 tries. Hello, Aaron. How's it going? Right back at you. Things are going pretty good. We're out here chilling, grinding that hobby lifestyle. How are things with you? What's on your hobby desk? Or if you're just here to share and bask in our hobby camaraderie, that's okay too. Yeah, I think that looks interesting enough. Neat, neat. Okay, let's get back to these eye lenses. Let's build up an even, fairly bright, and I guess a little pale, so I'll mix in some off-white base color for these lenses. Then we'll go with some contrast or some ink and layer back up, and it should look pretty good. Pyro says, question at what the 40k. Have you noticed an uptick after Space Marines 2 on some vids regarding those factions? Indeed I have, funnily enough. Some thematic list builds for Iron Hands and Raven Guard, I suppose, have gotten some slightly above average attention, which is kind of neat. Kind of neat. I wouldn't necessarily like so for example, if I had a buddy who I was playing Space Marine 2 with and he doesn't know anything about Warhammer, I wouldn't necessarily like push them to getting into Warhammer just because they like Space Marine 2. But if creative people find their way to the hobby through Space Marine 2, I think that's a good pipeline, so to speak. I think uncreative people hit a sort of wall with the hobby aspect of our hobby. At least that's what I found in my experience. Having so many ideas all at once. I figure with this wash, I could apply a little bit, or not with this wash, with this contrast or ink. Jeez, all the words. With this ink, I can probably add some dimension, some tonal variety, some warmth to this yellow stripe on the heavy bolter. But then I thought maybe first I should use this brighter yellow I've been using for the islands to do the same with the brighter values. Then we can get a pretty high dynamic range situation occurring. It's a bit too heavy. I'll pull some of that ink away. So this is the yellow mixed with off-white. Oh yeah, it's brighter. Way brighter. I wonder if I need to clean up that front corner. Might have to. I guess that's okay. Nikki G, welcome. I just noticed your message now. Thanks for tuning in. You say, I'm a commissioned painter. I've noticed an uptick. Any models featured in the game are in short supply in my area. Waiting 3 weeks for a chaplain right now. Yikes. Aaron says, just bought some built Hedraka's Mad Mob minis I'm trying to clean up. Ah, very cool. Very cool. Nice to hear some hobbing of what I'm assuming, could just be my ignorance, is another game system. Let's base coat this sculpted Imperial Eye. I guess that's what this is. Surely it's not an inquisitorial eye. Probably could have filed that down, honestly, or cut that off. Oh well. Oh, Underworlds. Nice. Very cool, Aaron. Very cool. I was an enjoyer of the old Shadespire for a time. And then the second sequel came out, or whatever, season. Can't remember what it was called. And all my beloved teams were just worse in comparison to all the new teams. And I was like, I don't like this anymore. It kind of discouraged me from continuing. And I was hoping it'd be kind of like a fighting game, in the sense like you have a roster, and maybe some new characters get added to it, some new teams, but the existing roster would still be valid. Now, mind you, I haven't looked at the game in forever, so maybe that's been readjusted and fact into a better standard, but yeah, after that I didn't get back into Underworlds. That was it for the old William Shadespire. Yeah, just a little bit of yellowing towards the bottom, I think will add some depth, probably. That's the hope, anyways. Yeah, this red contrast is a bit suspect. It feels just so goopy. I think whatever I mixed in here was bad. I think this is my fault. I'm not going to blame GW for that. Viva la Cruz! Welcome to the stream. Hello, I just got into Warhammer. I'm about to finish the Horus Rising book, and today I picked up Warhammer Space Marine 1. I'm looking at the figures now. What army/legion do you recommend for a noob? Are you a noob with regards to hobbying and painting and putting together miniatures and that sort of thing? Because that is an important factor to consider. Loyalists are simpler, generally speaking, to paint than Trader Space Marines. They have more accessories and trim to deal with, which may be a little bit of a skill floor for new hobbyists. That's a possibility. Or you just don't paint your trim, but I feel like that's not in the spirit of the traders. Okay, so that islands should be dry. Let's try and brighten up that. My god, off-white? These chalky pigments? Or maybe it's just that game color brand. I don't know, but it does not last. No amount of moistness on the wet palette seems to allow it to last long at all. Yeah, I have to get some more. Crazy. I think Death Guard on the trader side might be an exception with regards to skill floor. They're allowed to be dirty and grungy, so you don't need to worry about a neat application of paint if that is a barrier to entry, or if you're just new to painting miniatures. That's probably an easier one. In terms of gameplay complexity, I think Thousand Suns, in current rules, I think Thousand Suns probably have the highest skill floor or memory bandwidth required to play. But Space Marines overall are fairly simple, honestly. I do find Chaos Space Marines are still more of a melee army than Space Marines. Space Marines can kind of lean either way pretty evenly, I think. But traders, I think, are still tipping more towards the melee side, which is unfortunate. I think it's a bit lame, honestly. You know, Iron Warriors, Legionaries should be perfectly content to stand back and blast. I guess on the trader side, Iron Warriors are a pretty noob-friendly army to hobby. Mostly silver, right? Silver, black, and optional yellow and black hazard stripes, or optional yellow. And it's just a very good looking army. Even if it is Horus Heresy or 40k, because Iron Warriors always look great. Nikki G says yes. Custodes are an easy start. They are. They have a lot of accessories, but you can, similar to Iron Warriors and I guess Necrons, you can kind of get away with majority gold, and then paint your boots brown or whatever. Yeah, Custodes are an option. Yeah, they didn't come to mind just because with all the recent lore updates to Custodes, I kind of forgot about them. I guess there is. Viva La Cruz says, I have painted models slash figures before. However, that was for car slash engine models, and I could definitely improve that skill. I really like the Raptors and Mentors. The Mentors selection seems limited. The Mentors chapter is just, it's effectively just a paint scheme as far as I'm aware. I don't think there's any, you know, you have all the options any Loyalist Space Marine chapter would have. But that's a great pick. Raptors are certainly more popular, but I don't know. I can always appreciate someone realizing a successor chapter we don't often see. I think there's certainly a swag to that. Yeah, it's a kind of a flex, you know? It's like, whoa, do you see that guy on the table over there? He has 2,000 points of Nova Marines. It's crazy. Or Howling Griffins. Like wild, right? Well, these are chapters you exist, but rarely ever see. Okay, now that the islands is dry, let's just put some pink back in the center, and I think it should be good to go. Oh yeah. That's pretty good. Just gotta pump the brightness on the yellow lenses. Just coming in with pure, like just straight off-white. So looking at my chapter champion here, on most of my Space Marines that have this kind of gauntlet formation with these little buttons, I've usually painted one green and one gray. So I think I'll carry that through on this guy. You know, those are the communication buttons. So we'll get some gray and just that's just solid color, just to help break up those details, right? Add some readability. It's not fancy in the least, but I think it adds a little something. We can probably do this process on all of these battle bros now that we're here. Yeah, I'll have to return to some of these to do a bit more layering of their armor. The Ogryn Cano on some of them is barely registering. Nikki G says, I love that Monster Hunter sword. I saw it on Instagram. Ah, hell yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I think it came together real good. It's funny, I was sitting on that model, like, just like forever. I just didn't share it, didn't post it. And then it was very well received. Very well received. For the green buttons, just gonna use some Toxic Mist from, this is Army Painter, I think. And I'm gonna follow the same process that I used on the eye lenses. Though it might take a few coats. But you know, for these kind of details, you can kind of get away with one thick coat. Francois is back. Back with pizza, I imagine. Only the finest pizzas. wonder if I should add some imperfections to this. You know, like maybe it actually... would benefit a little bit from it being broken up? I don't know. Or am I just ruining everything I did? Could be. Could be. Okay, next we will use good old reliable Hexwraith Flame. The old formula. All they gotta do is kind of just dab it over those green buttons. For this scope, we're going to go with a red lens. Might need some corn red though. Something with a bit more saturation than the word bearer's red. Magic Gang, welcome to the stream. Your company is most appreciated. Why did I choose salamanders? Well, it's a good question. You know, back when I was just painting and watching mini wargaming, way back when, I always thought the salamanders were pretty neat. I thought as a successor chapter, you know, I like green. I'm predisposed to like green as a color, so they always caught my eye for that reason. And then I found they had some pretty cool lore, you know, they like making and crafting nice shit, and I like making and crafting nice shit. I felt like, you know, I could relate to them a little bit. In that sense. And they had other, like, you know, interesting angles, like, oh, they are one of the few chapters that are friendly towards humans and heroic in that traditional sense, contrast to the grim darkness of the setting, right? So that's kind of neat too. That's a cool angle. And then I, would hear and learn, I guess not hear, but learn about the, Vulcan and their Primarch. I'm like, oh, that's like a cool angle for their Primarch. He's got a cool character. I like that he has a hammer in a game called Warhammer. That's kind of cool. I'm not especially like, I don't identify as a fire guy personally, but it's a cool enough thematic attribute for the salamanders, right? Or their successors. In my case, okay, look, these guys are looking way more interesting already with their buttons all picked out on those forearms. Nice. We need to do... I forgot about the painting metal here. That's a bummer. You're taking off, Pyro? Well, thanks for tuning in. I appreciated your company while you were here. You have a good night. Yeah, Francois has a good point. Because fire-breathing dragons are cool. They are fairly popular as well as far as successor chapters go. Jesus. Oh, I just gummed up my shit. What a shame. What a shame. Oh, yeah. Look, that's these chalky pigments. Just instant dry. Amazing. Well, at least it's the underside of the sword. And take some solace in that. Blend that back. Now, this kind of thing might actually get covered up by edge highlighting. That bit of yellow there. Which is possible, but still annoying me. Can't believe I've done this. Okay, I'm gonna get out a little bit of silver paint. Because there's that, that component of the bolt rifle and some of these cable connection points I want to make metallic. Francois says, okay, now the bullshitting is done. Is the 2+ Dreadnought save that ignores Melta Weapons? Is the 2+ Dreadnought save that ignores Melta Weapons? What about it? I don't believe that is a current rule for Salamanders. You do have an enhancement that can turn a Melta damage made at characters 1 damage, but I think that's it. Oh, it's the... I see. I see now, Francois. I see what you're doing. No, it's fake news. When I started collecting Salamanders in 8th edition, it was a... they did have good rules, though. I will say that. They were one of the better chapters. Unfortunately. Man, that ink really adds some nice variety. Really helps that yellow along. Yeah, it's the... Oh, yeah, they sent your named characters into Legends like last edition. Yeah, that was also a cool factor that Salamanders had going for them back then. You had a bunch of named characters, but they were all Forge World characters. But it was still cool, right? You still felt like supported in a way, not as on the surface as like the Ultramarines at the time with all their entire roster of named characters. It was kind of cool to have one that was, an apothecary, one a captain, and a dreadnought, all Forge World editions, and then you had your Forge Father, Vulcan Histan, and then Adrax later in 8th edition. It felt kind of cool. Like, it wasn't exactly as supported as like the Dark Angels, but you felt like, look, I have a roster of characters too. One of which was a Dreadnought character, which is, you see that in the Space Wolves everywhere, and the Blood Angels as well. Well, they just have the Librarian Dread, but they have, specialist Dreadnoughts, Furiosos, and such. Felt kind of cool. Yeah, but now Braearth isn't even in 8th edition, or in Legends. I think he's just gone, which is terrible, honestly. I think. Look, I didn't buy my Braearth. I converted one, and I'm not as burned by it personally because I also kind of fell out of love with that conversion I did at the time. But I could imagine if I purchased that model and felt quite attached to the named character, the actual unit that it was, I'd be pretty bummed out to just not even have Legends support. which is like the bare minimum, you know? Because look, I think, like, my stance on Legends is that it seems to me like a necessary thing we need to have if GW wants to have their, you know, competitive, you know, in air quotes, tournament scene. Well, I shouldn't say in air quotes. It is their competitive tournament scene. But I understand models out of production can't be part of that. Because then you'll just get people, you know, modeling for advantage and all this kind of stuff, which you don't want in that environment. But for the loyal, passionate, thematic players, like, at least give Legends rules for these units that you've sold people on and they've become invested in. Oh yeah, what am I doing? I can pull his arms off. That's why I did this. How embarrassing. Yeah, we need to add more Oghren camo. This guy's under. His layers are lacking. That's for sure. Now that we've removed this gun, I can probably paint the scope as well. Greg TSO, welcome to the stream. I see you've said I actually caught one live. Hey, much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. You know, these, it's nothing fancy going on here. We're just grinding away at our hobby projects. Collectively, though, together, we're in it together. Alright, his gun's looking better. A little bit better. Look, my off-white that I just mixed earlier is it's already on its way out. Terrible. Greg TSO says competitive 40k was a mistake. I agree. Look, this is a safe space, okay, guys? We can talk about this openly. It's, yes. Yes, I think maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it's caused the game to lose its soul. I don't know for certain. We'll have to get a detective on the case. Oh man, kind of overdid the... He's crying. I overdid the islands. See, I'm trying to paint with Nocturne green that is dried up, and I'm trying to see if I can resurrect it a little bit. 'Cause I'm lazy. I'm lazy to get the paint pot out. Would you believe it? Look, I think it's happening. Francois says, nah, competitive 40k is fine. But 40k is not going to make me balanced, even with Legends. She always wants you to buy new models. Yeah, for sure. For sure they want us to buy new models. Though I do think Legends is justifiable for the purposes of competitive play when they no longer sell those units. Because I believe I made this case in my video on Legends, but if you make the competitive paradigm one where people can build their own units, especially for the ones you no longer sell, people are going to model for advantage, and it's going to become a problem. So I don't think Legends is unjustifiable. Better upkeep of them would be preferable, you know. But for sure, GW does want us to buy their new hotness. But they don't need Legends for that. They can easily just make the rules worse, as they do, right? Like the Repulsor Executioner's Laser Destroyer being less reliable than the Gladiator Lancer's lighter Laser Destroyer. I think that's a good example. Caltrax Amalgam, welcome. Just saw your entry into chat. Out of curiosity, will you paint anything from major minis? I'm not against only. I mean, I'm not like only. I'm not opposed to painting non-GW. I just happen to collect Warhammer, and so I have many GW models to paint. Some Artel models here and there. But usually I end up only painting things I use for play. Just happens to be the nature of the beast. I painted a few Marvel Crisis Protocol minis because I thought they were cool. But that wasn't on stream or anything. Okay, we got our red and black blend here, so let's start painting these dragon fangs. Whoops. Francois says balance equals everyone has the same money to dump on plastic crack. A lack of balance is baked into the game in this regard. Yeah, it's a pretty good point. I don't think that you balance to a specific standard. NGW in 10th edition has made that standard a bit easier with their meta watch articles that just track factions, not caring about sub-factions. If your Imperial Fist's detachment is Crapola, It's okay because look, Space Marines are performing at standard, so it's no problem to you. And I hate it. I dislike it. It's crazy, but I dislike when designers do the players dirty, and then nothing gets done about it. While we got the metal color out, let's start doing these. Those heresy. You know what? Maybe chat. Maybe someone in chat can help me out here. What are these called? These ball bearings. The heresy. The Mark V heresy armor studs. That's what I call them. Are they reinforcement studs? That sounds like a thing. I realized I may have asked all of that with my model out of frame, so yes, it is these studs I am talking about. Shoot. No, we're making it worse. Terrible. Well, that's something to correct when we circle back to our greens. Isn't it bonding studs? We also got power studs in chat. I feel like bonding studs or reinforcement studs might be correct. Francois is correct on the name? Yes. Okay, bonding studs. Then bonding studs it is. I knew you guys could do it. Okay, you know what? Before I continue and do both of them, is it better to not paint the bonding studs metal? I think it might be. You know, looking at these two guys, what is chat saying here? Because I feel like maybe it's better off not painted. I know this guy has cool eye lenses, but we gotta ignore that. Francois says, now the question is, molecular bonding studs were for Mark V Heresy armor. It was a cheap fix for mismatched armor. So why is it on Mark X Primaris armor? That is an interesting question. Yeah, I put these on here not knowing that. But that being said, that aside, what's the best case? What's the best spin you could do? You know, that one Pauldron in the Intercessor kit is maybe for a guy who need to repair an old piece of armor, maybe. I think it's for adding a bit of character to your miniatures, for sure. That's what those variety pieces are for. Francois says better painted is acceptable if not. Okay. Painted, unpainted looks like a mistake. Acceptable, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I feel a bit better about that decision then. Caltrax asks, is this a kit bash? What model are these? I can't remember where they're from. I think they might even just be Intercessor bodies, honestly. But they are kit bashed with all sorts of bits and bops. The rope is green stuff. And these are, I think, I don't know, I got these, I didn't buy these, I got these for free. I think from maybe Cromlech? I think they were Cromlech freebies that my buddy got with his order. And he's like, here, you like salamanders? And he gave them to me. And there's all sorts of, I think these are from Heavy Intercessors, maybe. Yeah. Quite the kit bash. Okay, well, let's continue on with the painted bonding studs. Greg says, I like bonding studs on the Mark X. It implies the Marines are doing field repairs. They are the 40k equivalent of armor replacing your rifle's firing pin and retaining a pin with a bobby pin. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Sterngard asks Nikki G. Nikki G. Sterngard, these are Sterngard. String Guard models. I put them on 40s because they will be in my company heroes or command squad. And they're close enough looking to the guys in that kit anyways, in terms of their loadout, and, you know, they got the tabard, or the, whatever, these crotch covering robes. And these ones are for the, my chapter master, who is using, unfortunately, Calgar's rules. So these will be his counts as a Victrix Honor Guard. My chapter master was initially characterized as a toughness 7 -1 to wound behemoth, and it was the coolest. Just the coolest. And now he has to be Marneus Calgar. But as a plus, you know, I get to have his honor guard on the field with him rather than just on a display. Caltrax Amalgam says, I feel like at least the Salamanders would have an easier time repairing their armor without needing studs. The Space Sharks, on the other hand. Interesting point. Yeah, well, look, what's done is done. I put these on with the assumption that it was just like a heraldry type piece, right? These studs, but apparently that's not the case. So, look, I guess this is just old armor that they love and they keep. And they both do it on the same side. That's just what it is. Bonding studs and Mark V are my favorite. Every sergeant gets a studded pauldron in my army. If it's not an easy to build Marine from a starter set. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, Mark V is just such a good looking armor mark. You think it'd be available in a game called Horus Heresy. That should be adequate for his eye lenses. Nice. Oh, his green is so dark. It's bothering me. Right, what materials and colors remain on these four boyos? I want to do some freehanding on their tabards. Do our white flame pattern that I've kind of been enjoying for the army as of late. Oh, I forgot about his studs on the far edge of his greave. Beaks with Phobos armor goes exceptionally hard. It does look good. So the Raven Wing upgrades have some really nice, or maybe it's just the Black Knights, it's not the upgrades. They just have some awesome beaky heads. Greg says Mark armor is Deathwatch armor and I'll die on this hill. Yeah, I think it might be. I don't know. I've always kind of reasoned that to be the case. But I don't know what the official word is on that. Ah, Greg is wrong about Mark 9. Yeah, I had a feeling. So what is Mark 9? Or is GW just being cute? Cute with their 7, 8, 9 meme. Oh, we're mucking up the gold. Oh well. Oh well. have to clean up that a little bit. That's a decent shape, I think. Greg says, but I think GW just wanted to emphasize how cool Primaris were by saying they're so cool they skipped the whole generation of armor. Good God. The Primaris rollout is so fucking lame, dude. It's so lame. When I say this as like someone in the camp who likes like I think there are elements of that lore update I think are good. But it's like, the way it's like this positioning them in the worst possible way. Look how much cooler these new ones are. It's like, oh yeah, that makes them so likable. It's not a Mary Sue situation at all. Everyone else has 1 wound, but they have 2. God. And now look where we are. Scouts have 1 wound. It's ridiculous. Or sorry, Scouts have 2 wounds. It's ridiculous. Excuse the slip. I just want Scouts to have 1 wound so badly. And Francois says, yeah, well, just about everything does 2 wounds. Like, I understand that, but purely from a perspective of characterizing what these guys are on the tabletop, I just find it weird because now even Scouts have 2 wounds. And personally, like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of like the idea of Scouts being the one unit Space Marines have available to them that are 1 wound. They aren't at that 2 wound standard. They offer a unit that is contrary to the typical rank and file. Similar, not exactly the same. It's a different style of unit than Cultists, but it's similar to what they offer to that range. I mean, that being said, I kind of despise how valuable Scouts are presently in the game. They are just too valuable. Yeah, that flame pattern's looking good. Just gotta make it a bit cleaner of a solid coat. Greg says, I guess it depends on what you think a wound, or yeah, what you would think a wound should represent. Yep, I think so. That's what it comes down to. It's weird. There was a point in time where, you know, toughness was considered to be the representation of how tough the person within the armor is, and the armor save is like, you know, ceramite, auramite, flak armor, etc. But now that Gravis is T6, I feel like that is no longer the abstraction the rules are trying to do. Gravis and Terminator toughness should be switched. Yeah, probably. I don't like Terminators being less tough than Gravis. They had a better armor save and an invulnerable save, which is an argument, but it's just weird. Just weird statistical variances. For instance, says, look, I have 120 Deathwing Terminators. There has to be an incentive to cause me to buy the new cartoony looking Primaris stuff. Yeah, probably. Probably. Alright, so let's do another pattern on our other sword guy. Where is he? Or our other heavy bolter guy. start about here, make a peak upwards, and then we'll do a larger flame on this guy's. Oh, it's turning into kind of a mess. Oh, so it's going to need a bit more cleanup. Yeah, I think that would have been better, Francois, I think. I think you could have had the same narrative beat take place. If you really must have Guilliman launching a crusade and needing a legion's worth of Marines, you could still do that with what you've described. Like I've said before, a secret multiple legions quantity of Marines just being built and unveiled is already a massive reveal, right? But GW kind of wants us to buy their new product. Have a kit you can sell for each weapon option, like Aspect Warriors. Like it's weird. I would even much prefer a middle ground approach where Primaris came out and, there's just battle line, heavy support, and assault, and you just have weapon upgrade sprues. I don't mind that at all. Yep, I like what Greg's describing. A tithe from the legions during the second founding. That would have been rad. That would have been rad. Francois says, yeah, you could launch a new armor pattern or a new unit type. Nothing wrong with that. I like infiltrators a lot. Yeah, Phobos is pretty cool. There's not Primaris brings nothing to the table. There are some interesting designs, interesting thematic concepts, and narrative implications that I think are interesting. Yeah, that one section in Dark Imperium made you love Inceptors. Yeah, the one-man drop pod. Yeah, that really should be their special ability, because that is probably their most unique feature. They're able to drop from high altitude. I mean, somehow, I guess on the tabletop, that translates to them dropping even closer than people who are dropping from a lower orbit, a lower altitude. It's weird. Weird design choice. Feels like a unit like Reavers should have been. This model can be set up within 3 inches. Now that's actually scary. Like -1 to your battle shock isn't actually scary. But rules, like spooky units, should have rules which make the enemy player scared, right? I think that's a much better choice than trying to abstract it literally through battle shock, which they even say isn't trying to represent terror. So why are we forcing all our terror tactics through those kind of design sensibilities? It doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent at all. You just build them as Vanguard Marines and combine all the war gear for Rule of Cool. Hey, more power to you. That's certainly a way to not get annoyed with the rules. Look at this. It's already coming up on, we're past the 2-hour mark by quite a bit. Well, I'm going to wrap this up soon, guys. Sorry to say, but look, for anyone who missed it earlier, I'll be streaming tomorrow as well. Probably, I think it's safe to say I'll be streaming Friday in a similar capacity. We're going to get these command squads done for sure. Yeah. Like, I think this guy came together pretty well. He's got his cape pattern, he's got his knee pad and eye lenses in. His gun's got a cool stripe. It's pretty good looking, pretty handsome, dare I say, battle brother. These two have the dragon fangs. Maybe we'll finish that up and then call it there. It's got to get some color on them. But his is already done. That's this guy. Okay. Francois says, I built my Red Scorpions in 9th to play the Reaver list. You could manage a -4 leadership on 1 unit a turn, which is okay, but not enough. Yeah, it's just... it's a design thing for me. I feel like leadership, spooky mechanics, like terror tactics should not be... I make your guys afraid. I also think that's always a feel-bad situation for any player, even if you're playing like non-power fantasy factions. Like even if you play Kroot, like it never feels great for like, oh my, your guys making my guys cower in fear. Like I don't think that's it might be narratively apt in certain moments, and you probably have a nice thematic set piece or narrative set piece around this kind of scenario, right? It's very cinematic. Good for a story, but I don't think it's the best for game feel, and I think terror tactics are better represented. Like, look, when the Night Lords got their supplement in Faith and Fury, I was like, oh boy, this is like chef's kiss, because there's so many design choices that they had in that supplement that would make me afraid to consider fighting against those abilities, right? Like, oh, here's an enhancement that, you know, when you're near this guy, your stratagems can cost more, or you can't deep strike within range of this guy, right? These mechanics that are, well, effectively very potent exceptions, very rare, not often seen, right? That would cause me concern. Much more concerned than their, oh, I do -1 leadership when I'm within 6 inches and it stacks up to -3. Like that doesn't evoke fear. It's just a design space thing. I think it could be better leveraged by the spooky factions. Greg says I usually build them with Infiltrator's Carbine, Reaver Grav Shoot, and the Incursor Head/Scanner. I think it's a real unique look, but not too busy. Very cool. Yeah, the Infiltrator's Carbine, Reaver's Grav Shoots, the Incursor's Head Scanner. Ah, I see. I know the one you're talking about. The Cyclops Visor. Yep, it's pretty cool. I guess tomorrow's stream will be doing the greens. It'll be a green stream. You gotta bump those greens up on some of them anyways. Anyways, guys, it's been a blast. We are gonna wrap things up here. Where's my wall of honor? There it is. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me in this very enjoyable, very chill hobby session. Thanks to everyone who liked the stream and who subscribed and all that other good stuff. Anyways, I'll be streaming tomorrow at the same time, same place.